The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
With so many people living longer, the fear of outliving your money becomes a reality for many of us. Will I be a financial burden? Will I outlive my money? How will I be remembered? My name is Neil Himmelstein, president of Main Street Planning Group. Please contact me by visiting mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. I will introduce you to strategies that will guarantee you will not outlive your money, that can guarantee you will not be a burden on your loved ones. Through a collaborative approach, we will uncover solutions that offer tax-efficient strategies, lifetime income, and legacy planning, choice, organization, direction, and education. That is the code we stand behind. Contact mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. And listen to me every Friday at 3 p.m. as I host the Main Street Code for Financial Success, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. I'm here every Friday at 3 o'clock, and if you miss me, you can always catch me. Go to my website, themainstreetcode.com, or check me out on Apple or Spotify, and you can hear episodes if you missed them, and YouTube. We're on YouTube, so you can see that, and we love to help you. And when we talk about our code, we talk about choice, organization, direction, and education. And we help hundreds of advisors across the United States as a wholesaler in life insurance products, life, disability, annuities, long-term care. And we work with attorneys, CPAs, and other financial advisors who, need our product advice and product design and solutions for people's problems. And today, we're very fortunate to have my friend. And we only met 6 months ago. It was instant. It was an instant oomph, Mm-hmm. I knew he's like, I like working with people who I like and trust. And I think that's so important that anyone does. And his name is Phil DePaul. He is a young entrepreneur. He's got 3 businesses. And when you hear him talk, I want you to write down his phone number, because he could be, and I want you to put his phone number on a card and put it on your refrigerator, because he's the man you call. If you're living on Long Island, we had a lot of rain this week, right?
We sure did.
So, Phil, tell them what you do and the name of your company.
So, Neil, thank you for having me on the show.
I'm thrilled.
A lot of fun. I mean, it's so easy for us to talk. The only difference here, we're in the studio.
Yeah, that's all good.
So yes, entrepreneur, not 3 businesses, it's really 4. The fourth,
okay.
Yeah, the fourth one was quiet. We'll get into that. So Long Island, happy to have a voice here in the community. And yes, if we're talking current events, this week's been messy. The weather, the storms. You alluded a little bit to the businesses that I've ventured into here on the island. And yeah, I am the CEO of BoomZeal Enterprises, and we seek to make property maintenance more manageable on Long Island. And that all started with a franchise called United Water Restoration Group. And for any of you who might have got hit hard by the storm, this weather event that took place in the last few days, since it's happened, my team has been very, very busy. We are a 24/7 emergency service provider for all things related to water entering your home or your structure. And as I'm sure you've seen, hopefully not personally, Neil, because I know you live in a nice spot by the water, but there are folks that got hurt, and we're there to help you their safety net.
Right. And you had told me, when we first started talking, that during Sandy, that you worked with another company, or you working with this company, and this is how this all evolved, or how did this come about?
Well, if we take a step back, I like to think, you introduced me as an entrepreneur. I believe that one becomes an entrepreneur well ahead of actually being a business owner. Right. I go back to the mindset, and I was lucky enough to have a solid education, strong family, a good environment for my mind to grow, and that growth mindset pushed me towards education, learning, consuming information, and it quickly in my teens got into whether they're self-help books, financial books, business books, and thought leaders or mentors. Even if it's not a two-way directional relationship, you can learn so much from so many people and situations. So from my teenage years, I started working in the plumbing wholesale industry, and I spent 14 years from a teenager to about 30 years old inside of somebody else's small business. And I got to grow up inside of that business. And I never went for anything beyond my undergraduate degree, which I got in computer science because...
Well, you also went to the School of Hard Knocks, the same school I went to.
Well, Hard Knocks teaches you, they often teach you the most valuable lessons.
Absolutely.
Some of us are too pig-headed sometimes to extract all the lessons that we can learn from them. But I just felt all along the way I was learning and I was growing independent of what my job title was, who I was working with, who I was working for, what I was doing. And that kind of shaped a framework where I'm like, you know what? For me, it was all about providing value, being valuable, and being of service. And I did that to the maximum degree possible inside of the environment that I spent over a decade from my youth, into my 30s. And then I made a jump into an organization that helped, this is what you're talking about. It was called New York Rising. And
right.
The organization that I worked for had a contract with the governor's office of storm recovery. And I hadn't done disaster recovery relief work before, so I came in as a program project manager, and I was a behind-the-scenes figure to help make the thing run, because I was pretty good at managing people and making things go, improving processes and operations.
How'd you go from plumbing to that? How did that come about?
It's ironic because Daddy got me my first job in the plumbing trades. My father-in-law was the connection that opened a door to a conversation with this construction management, architectural and engineering firm called the Lero Group here on Long Island, which I wound up, I sent my resume as a flyer, and it just so happened that they had a thing that they thought they might be a good fit for, and I wound up being the second in command on a team of like 70 as a deputy construction program manager, where... by the title, it didn't really sound like I was directly qualified, but what it did is, and alluding to what you talked about earlier, education. It afforded me the opportunity to take what I was good at, gain an education from subject matter experts who are a lot smarter than me, and I was like, this is going to be a great opportunity for me to move from the thing I've been doing to I felt like it was going to be a jumping off point for my next thing. It was like, 2 moves ahead.
Right.
So I was like, this is going to be a great experience. And I was there for 4 years. You can almost allude it to a college degree. Like, I viewed it that every day I'm there, I'm going to make an impact and I'm going to pull something away. So, and that's, advice, if anybody cares to take it, is that life teaches you lessons. You just have to be open and receptive to learning them. And I had eyes wide open. So connect that dot. And I spent 4 years helping mostly Long Islanders affected by Hurricane Sandy and some by, what was it? Was it Irene? What was the one the year before? So it was mostly Sandy, mostly the South Shore of Long Island, and we helped elevate, repair, and reconstruct a lot of homes that were devastated by that storm using federal grant funds. So the idea of helping people and doing it in an environment with homes and residences
and with the storm we had last week, I mean, I got pictures of my neighbors at my, my backyard, and being on the South Shore, and I know the North Shore got hit too. Water and climate, these storms are getting more intense. It's more consistent. There's going to be one tonight, supposedly, that's going to compound the last one. And, there's two breaches on Fire Island. I mean, this is very relevant. So you're in a field that's like, oh, boy. Like I said, before I started this program, I said, take down Phil's number, and if you have a problem or you perceive you're going to have a problem, he's the first number you want to call. Because he knows how to, from beginning to end, right? Is that what your company does? Restore you to where you need to be. Yeah. And that kind of sums up your main company, and then you have offshoots from that, right?
Sure. Yeah, and just to connect the dots, right? So that experience led me, the large-scale disaster recovery, which has to do with a lot of climate change and a lot of these severe events, to I needed a business. I bought a franchise. They do everyday run-of-the-mill disasters. You want to call them mini disasters? When it hits your home, it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm able to apply those skills towards the team that we've built here in Long Island, helping. We do a lot of residential, but we also do a lot of commercial cleanups a lot of insurance claims. So my first go-to business is that restoration business, which, as you can tell, has been very busy providing those services from the expertise. And we don't pretend to be all things to all people, but we know what we're good at, and we are good at restoring properties.
Right. But what I also like is if you have a problem. Now, I had a problem, and you said, that's not me, that's this guy. And I work the same way, as you know, and we're going to talk about that, because I'm all about partnering with relationships to help people solve problems, as are you.
That's why we're aligned,
and that's how we found each other, and that's great. Anyhow, you're listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. If you need to get a hold of me, you can reach me at 631-647-4694. And Phil, if somebody wants to contact you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so our 24/7 hotline will take you right to our responsive team at United Water Restoration Group, 631-494-4764, or all over digital media at United, Liny.
Fantastic. And we're going to be right back after a quick commercial break, and we look forward to talking further with Phil.
For sure.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein, and I'm here with Phil DePaul. And Phil was telling me about his... And I got to tell you, I've done work with Phil. He's fantastic. He provides solutions. You know, when your house is underwater, there's so many things to consider. It's not just like... And I am not a contractor, okay? I'm a contractor of financial end, but I'm not a contractor that deals with... what needs to be done in my house, whether it's mold remediation or getting rid of rubbish or you know, who do I call? What do I do? So you're the one source. That's why I said remember Phil's number, because he's the one source you can call when you have emergencies. He's branched out from his initial business into also doing like an emergency plumbing business. Restoration. I don't even know all your businesses. I know you have a junk removal business, right. Which is another business. You know, it's not a side hustle. It's a real business. They're all real businesses. And he's the guy in control, but it helps. Like I said, you have a problem with your home from a storm-related thing or any kind of catastrophe, or you need to move stuff around, which I got to call them for next week. I need to move some stuff around and out. So that's who you call, is you call Phil. And Phil and I met in this networking group, and then Phil approached me. And, you know, being in the business I'm in, I handle things a little differently, similar to the way Phil does, where, you know, there's this bad perception of people who sell insurance. But tell me what attracted you to come to me, and then kind of let's talk about some of the things we're kind of doing. So.
For sure. Well, obviously what attracted me to come to you is that you weren't trying to sell me anything. You were just being Neil. And I feel like when I am the best version of myself, it's authentic. It comes from just whatever's kind of going on inside. And sometimes people go through pleasantries and, hi, how are you? I'm good. And I'm the guy who's kind of like, how you doing? You know, I'm off today. And then if you see me, and I feel like today is one of those days, it's on, you know, and I want to be able to radiate. I want to be able to have a positive energy that other people can feel. And that's kind of part of what BoomZeal means to me. And then when I see those traits, those attributes and those values in other people, and it becomes a two-way exchange of energy, I'm like, okay, I want to go deeper. I want to spend more time. And, you know, compliment to you. That's how I feel when we connect.
Right. So, you know, a lot of solutions are not product solutions. And I think when people go to an insurance person, they think, oh, he's going to try and sell me something. You said it very, very clearly. And they may be very proficient in their product that they're trying to sell. But when you came to me, you told me you had a specific need because you have all these companies. And what do? I said, rather than just sit with me, let's sit with my friend who's an estate attorney, and let's all sit together and roundtable this, because I knew that your needs were not the average day needs, because you got 3-4 businesses. How do I coordinate? I got employees. I got this. I got that. Anybody that's in business has got multiple issues, but how can you bring it all together? And that's kind of what we do. It's like you do with the house. So I think we have such a symbiotic relationship, yet we're in two completely different areas, and we're both using each other. We're both going to be clients of one another, but that's what I think is so cool, is that we saw that. So our process, and I want you to explain, I want to hear it from somebody else what my process is, so somebody can say, well, this is what you expect if you call me.
Yeah, so allow me to describe that experience, right? Is when we started to really have a conversation, I didn't feel like I was being sold any kind of process. I just felt like we were developing a relationship. And in one of our businesses, One Tom Plumber, our 24/7 emergency plumbing franchise, one of their credos is pet the dog. And pet the dog means when you walk in someone's home, get to know them, like make yourself relatable. And that's what, you did, and that's what we did with each other, where we quickly got to like, okay, well, what's beyond that? And when you're not selling a product, you're selling value. And when you did, by bringing me together with another professional right out of the gate, you sent me a message that, hey, I'm not putting you into my process. I have a 10-step sales process, and here's number 1, and then here's number 2. I felt like, oh, he's trying to get his arms around me, the human, the entrepreneur. And that to me, that fires off missiles. Those aren't bells. That's like, oh, okay, this is different. And to say that I didn't learn from your approach just, a few months ago, I'd be lying, because I'm like, that was strategic and it was meaningful. So you can win, and it doesn't have to be at other people's expense, or you don't have to sell something to someone who doesn't want to buy it.
Right.
And I'm huge on that. For our services, it's like I started a business that was highly reactive. So nobody calls United Water Restoration because they want to.
Right.
They call me because they have to. So I can't even sell it if I wanted to. The only thing I could say is, this is why I exist. This is what we exist to do. And that's really what you do. Hey, Phil, I exist to help your, financial situation, but it's, these are the moves that I may have. However, I see you. And I see that there's a lot more at play. Let me see how my network or my other resources can be of value to you. And you win by association of bringing those solutions towards me.
So what was interesting is, and some clients do it, but you brought in a chart, which I loved. You brought in a chart. Here's what I got. I got all these, and I'm saying, okay, let's start from there, right? Mm-hmm. And we looked at your chart, and you had a lot of needs, and we all do. And running a business is not a, hey, I got a business. It doesn't work that way. It's there's a lot of things that go into it. There's people, there's employees, there's
a saying, very profound: mo money, mo problems. Right. So the bigger your thing gets, the more complicated it is. The more help you need in figuring out.
And there's
what to
benefits,
do.
And there's this, and there's that, and there's tax situations, LLCs or C corps, or which one should I be? And it's funny because we took you down a lot of processes before we even got to talk, Mm-hmm. But it was like, that's what you need. But then eventually we started to talk, and we're getting into helping, our families and planning, and that's what I do. So it's a little different approach, and it's a little, hopefully I'm very approachable, and it's not like...
you took me as I was,
right,
like a shepherd.
But I like to hear it, because you don't get that feedback often, and people think they have their barriers up. As a matter of fact, when I went into this business, I used to be an import-exporter, and I don't talk a lot about it, except I've got great stories and I've got horror stories.
You shared a couple with me.
Yeah, and when I went into this business, my wife says, "Oh, you're going to be an insurance salesman? Like, oh, you're going to sell used cars?" And I'm like, mm-hmm. I said, "There's a lot to it. I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of intricacy mm-hmm. to financial planning, not just insurance, investments, and LLCs and C corps. I mean, everything in between. And if you don't have an integrated plan, like if you might have an attorney, which you had an attorney, you had an accountant, and you had this, but not everybody's on the same page.
Right.
And what I try and do is get everybody on the same page so that you have a team. So that, you know what? I'm going to put my team, and if you don't have a team, I'm going to try and help you put one together, one that fits you. Not that fits me, that fits you, But I like to work with accountants and attorneys who like to work with me so that we can jointly solve problems and not be in competition. And I know my limits. I know what I'm good at. I know what they're good at. I'm not a licensed attorney. I'm not a licensed CPA. But I'll put you in the right place for the right need, like you do.
And you played a masterful role,
Right.
for me, and even just illuminating. So the connecting is one thing, and playing that role of helping me see the path forward that much more clearly.
Good. I'm hopefully that this is going to last a long time, and you're going to see the light.
And
I'll be there with you.
If I may say, just like a contractor may mean something to some people, for me, it's more like, well, how do you be atypical? How do you not just put somebody through the typical process of dealing with something? And that's what you do in your line of work.
So that's where we both do, and that's why we like each other. So it's all good stuff. You've been listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. It's not your typical show. Phil's not your typical guy. Phil, how did they get a hold of your company? Because I know, after Friday night, another storm, there's going to be more problems, and people want to know, oh my God, what do I do? I got water in my basement. I was at dinner last night. I had 2 inches of water in my basement. So
very simple, www.boomzeal.com. Get a taste of what we got going on, and you'll see why we exist and who we exist to serve.
And what's a phone number for the people?
631-494-4764.
And thank you so much for being on my show. Again, Neil Himmelstein, 631-647-4694. Have a great afternoon and stay dry, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.